Alright, so we're back to working on the Arisaka, and regrettably, I have not convinced myself to give up on the red dot yet. So we're going to try and hand file that down so that it fits nice and perfectly on the rifle, nice and flat, nice and true, works like its own crush washer. Countersink this a little more deeply so that we can actually set the red dot mount on the center hole, get that screwed down in there nice and right, and we should be able to get that to the point where I can put that on, put the red dot on, shoot the rifle, zero it, etc., leave it on there indefinitely in perpetuity, and if I ever feel like making the rifle presentable as a milsurp with no aftermarket additions, just take the red dot off, back that screw out, pop it out, take a little bit of alcohol, wipe off the Loctite, and you'll never be able to notice unless you look down into that vent hole and see the threads, which I'm not going to be able to get rid of because I already messed that up. So since I have them, I'm going to fit that. I know I shouldn't. I'm being a Bubba, but it's just, I think it's genetic. Anyway, back onto fixing the wood though. I was luckily able to hop on the old Amazon, and for $20, I was able to find this pack of wood carving blanks for spoons, so that if you wanted to make your own spoon because you're learning wood carving, you can. And this sucker was like 20 bucks, and it contains 5 blanks. 3 black walnut, which is not what the stock is made out of. That's a very much an American species. Most walnut is not black. But also, it contained, or at least it told me it contained, 2 beech blanks. And I'll tell you right now, one of these ain't beech. There are 2 different colors. There are 2 different types of grain as far as I can tell. I don't think these are both beech. This looks like maple to me. I think this is beech though. And I think this guy right here will line up nicely with the Arisaka. Or at least we're going to make an attempt to make it look like that. So I've got all the dimensions already figured out, and we're going to try and cut this roughly to the correct dimension on the scroll saw and with a hacksaw. Fit it in there, get some agar-glass, and try and glass it back in there. And then blend as best as possible some sort of aftermarket stain or varnish to the urushi finish, which is going to be a nightmare, but yeah, we'll make an attempt. It ain't going to be pretty, but it's going to be better. And yeah, that's my thought. So I'm not working on the wood carving tonight. I think I'm just going to poke around with this guy real quick. I measured the diameter of the receiver where I'm mounting this, and it's I believe 34 millimeters. It's a little bit more than 1 5/16. It's not quite 1 3/8. So I was hoping I'd have a 1 5/16 dowel for some reason, even though that's not a common size. But all I got's 1 1/4, and these are slightly oversized. So we're going to use that as a fit. So if we can get this to almost be round with this, almost line up on it, we'll call that good. And it'll be slightly oversized, and that should allow that to sit on there with just a little bit of air gap underneath it, so that when we torque down on the screw, the aluminum flexes like a crush washer and cinches down on there and really holds your bang in place, hopefully. That's the thought, at least. I don't really know how I'm going to go about that. I think what I'm going to have to do is take this guy, wrap it in sandpaper, which should bring this up to 1 5/16 in diameter if I have, a layer of sandpaper on it, and then just stick this over here in the vise or something like that. I don't know how I'm going to do that because it's not really an easy way to hold that square, I guess like this. And just go to town with it on that, and put a nice bevel in the bottom. Countersink that screw hole. Try and get a little bit more, get this down there and a little deeper. I also noticed I really only had like 1.5 threads holding the thing onto the receiver. And just get that much better fit, and then try and zero that again, hopefully, maybe. And yeah, that's just where my brain is at the moment. Yeah, those are definitely walnut. I'm not certain what that is. We're going to assume it's beech because it said there was beech in here. And I think this is oak. I think this is actually white oak. And I can tell by the scent. And the only reason I can really do that is because I just so happen to know what walnut and what oak smell like. And oak, I don't know how best to describe this, but oak heartwood kind of smells like meatloaf. That's the best way I can put it. Kind of like ketchup-y meatloaf. It's weird, it's uncanny, and that's just the scent of the resins in the heartwood. Yeah, it just kind of has a savory, a little bit sour. It smells like meatloaf. It's weird. It probably doesn't, but that's just what it reminds me of. Black walnut, on the other hand, smells like a table. Don't ask me why I know what a table smells like, but you've leaned your face on enough pieces of furniture. You know what a table smells like. You know what a headboard smells like. This smells like furniture, and a lot of furniture is made of black walnut, especially, things like headboards, tables, mantelpieces, stuff like that. This guy, I don't know what it smells like. It doesn't really have a distinct smell at all. It's something closer to maple. Maple just kind of has a very neutral sawdust scent to it. But it does not have the same resiny scent of an oak. So I think this guy is beech, or that may just be my bias kicking in. I don't know. But that's the one we're going to try with for the final piece. We'll start with this one, I guess, to test, just in case it comes out looking really good. This is probably the closest of the three to the actual color of the wood. The wood's got a very orangey character to it, I guess. It's more orange than this. It's more kind of like that. I don't know if that's just like oils from the urushi bleeding all over the place, but it's more of a it's more like that color. I think that's poplar. Anyway, I digress. I'm gonna shut up and I'm gonna get to filing metal. Well, there's my jury-rig sanding block rod thing, and we're making progress. Still got a ways to go. There's still a bit of a lip. So I think I've about used up that sandpaper. And I think we're going to switch over to 80 grit. I think that was either 200 or 120. I don't know. What was that? Yeah, that's 120. I think. Yeah. So we're going to switch over to 80 grit, I believe. Yep. See if this goes a little bit faster. Alright, after a fair bit of sanding, I think I finally got her where I want her. If I set this guy down in here and make sure that it is centered, we have just a little bit of a lip all the way around. And I've got it down low enough that said bolt should stick through. I took the bolt, put it on the bench sander, and took just a little bit of meat off of it. And I also countersunk that somewhat. So this should sit basically flat. And we'll have a little bit more thread sticking out. That should be plenty if that sits flat. And I think we're going to go test it on the Arisaka real quick. That's a lot better. No interference with the bolt, nothing like that. It's not 100% perfect. You see, we still got a little bit of a gap right there, but it's nice and snug up at the front. Spin around. Let me get a flashlight on that for you. Pretty good on this side. Couldn't really get that closer, so I think we're about there. It is a bit cattywampus, though. You see right there, it is not straight. It is for certain. But I'm going to take this and spin it 180 and see if that changes it at all. Don't think it's going to, but that's what we have adjustments in the red dot for. It's not any better, so we're just going to Loctite it and then over torque it just like this, and hopefully slap the red dot right back on it. And that should hopefully work, and then we'll move on to filling in that, which from the side profile is really just these two guys, but up here from the top it's that, and not really much I'm going to be able to do about those, so we'll just ignore them, and the wood will cover up most of it. I regret that. Alright, it's been a hot minute on my end, but we've made absolutely no progress, so you didn't miss anything. The reason why we're over here by the chop saw is because it looks like Dad's building an ottoman or something, so I can't use the workbench, but today we're just out here measuring up this chunk of oak on this oak spoon. I'm going to cut the head of this thing off, and it looks like, just based off of, color of the wood, grain structure, of the blank I got, and just general character. This looks the most... Oh, by the way, I pulled the stock off of the Arisaka, but just looking at this raw wood down in here, this is the closest. It's got this pink character. You know, as far as hue goes, this is closer, this chunk of beech, but the grain is just all off. The grain's running parallel like this, which doesn't match up with this, and, you know, I can't really get these cross sections of the vascular structure of the wood to line up. So, you know, grain ain't right. It's not quite as dark. It's gonna look like ass anyway. So we're gonna run with this oak one, and if it ends up being that you know, we can actually get the stain kind of close, then we can go back and do this one. But we're definitely not going to use the black walnut. But I think this is going to be the closest. I mean, it's never going to look good, but we're trying to get as close as we can here. And yeah, I think I should be able to get at least 2, if not 3 attempts out of this. So we'll go for that. Yeah, probably 3. So we're going to cut that as close as we can. And give it the old college try. I'm going to use the scroll saw for this. Well, I'll probably use the chop saw to... Well, nah, we're just going to use this scroll saw for everything. And yeah, I'm just going to wing it. Well, given my distinct lack of tools, experience, and functional brain cells, that came out pretty damn close for a first try. So I'm just going to run with it. So just working with that with my hands got the color of the wood a lot closer to it. So I think maybe like a cherry stain or something like that. I'm going to experiment with the scraps over here. See, I didn't even have a single fuck up. First try with, you know, the crummiest files imaginable. I only had one safe edge file and it is absolutely destroyed. All of these have been used on high carbon steel and are completely fucked. And yeah, still managed to do that just, you know, pretty much with an eyeball. And yeah, now I gotta buy some agarglass or figure out how to make black epoxy to be able to set this. Probably just gonna play it safe and just buy a thing of agarglass. And yeah, we're just gonna set that in, and then we'll come back over with the files and just sort of smooth it all out just a little bit. You know, just real delicate like, and by that I mean absolutely fuck up the whole thing. Or maybe I'll just stain this and glue it in there and just chip off the excess and then fucking call it a day. I don't know. But that's really damn close. And I'm liking the way it's looking. You know, that passes the squint test once you get some stain on it. Alright, so I chugged a Mountain Dew with dinner instead of a beer like normal, so I'm just fucking wired. So it's like the midnight and I'm back out here and we're just gonna mix up some JB Weld because it's like $30 for like this much Agarglass and it's out of stock everywhere. So yeah, we're just gonna say fuck it. We're gonna ruin it, and we're just gonna use a little bit of JB Weld, and we're gonna try and stick it underneath. I'm not gonna try and do a bunch of filler like I would do with the Agarglass. So I'm gonna go a little bit skimpy on it. We're gonna mix that up, and we're just gonna shove it basically on the underside, and just, you know, allow it to smoosh out a little bit, and then let it sit overnight, and then we'll come in here with a chisel and just sort of clean up the edges, and then a file, and just sort of make everything nice and flush. But yeah, I'm gonna get to that just because, you know, might as well just let it sit overnight. You know, if I'm not gonna be able to get Agarglass for like fucking 2 months or something because Brownells is on back order, so I might as well fuck it up now and just know that I need to give up, than wait 3 months and then fuck it up. So that's my logic, at least. Alright, well, I've done what I can with the limited number of suitable clamps at my disposal. And yeah, we're just gonna let that sit overnight, and hopefully something doesn't like fall off and fuck everything up overnight. And yeah, hopefully that should be fine. I should just be able to chip off all the excess epoxy. You know, very carefully sand or file down any proud wood, and you know, rub some hand grease on it, a little bit of stain or something like that, and hopefully we'll be good. Or I fucked it all up. We'll see. Alright, it's the next morning, and took all the clamps off, and I just took a chisel and a small hammer, though I think it's about a 4 ounce, And hi Stucky. And we just tapped all the epoxy off. That wasn't too much of a problem. And I'm just going to hit this with a file real quick and flatten it out. Normally I would use a chisel, but this shit's gonna explode if I touch it with the chisel, so we're gonna use the file instead and hope I don't make everything worse. And we're just gonna try and smooth all this out. The top is actually perfect. Like, there's practically no seam. The epoxy is a touch proud, but I'm just gonna not worry about it. It's this right here. It's the corners with these little projections are maybe about a 1/16 of an inch high. And this bottom lip down here is maybe like, this one's maybe at 30 seconds. It's like a 64th. So we're just gonna kiss that as best as we can with you know, the dullest, finest file I got, and trying not to take any more of this finish off than we have to. Well, there's the final product, and as you can hear, just a little bit of a lip on the epoxy there. There's nothing else I can do, but that came out pretty fucking good. As you know, just all considering the fact that I have absolutely no adeptitude for woodworking, and yeah, I want you to imagine a woodworker. I want you to imagine an older gentleman who has been working on his craft for years, designing cabinets and chairs and making tools, you know, absolute critical attention to detail and care for the materials he uses. And I want you to imagine him watching a brain dead ape just absolutely destroy all of his tools and make a complete mockery of his craft. I'm that ape. So, all things considered, it's really nice, and I'm just gonna run with it. So now I just gotta figure out something about a stain. And you know, this thing passes the squint test, which is, you know, if I go over here and I focus the camera on the floor and then I come up here, you can't fucking see it. But you know, you come up in on it on a showroom and you're like, oh yeah, that shit's fucked, mate. But you know, from a distance, you know, it kind of passes the squint test. You see, yeah. Just don't. I'll shake the camera a bit. Yeah, there we are. It passes. I gotta figure out something about this Arushi now, because that's the only thing left standing in my way. I'm gonna poke around, see if we get a stain that, you know, does something fairly similar. This kind of looks like a cherry to me. I don't know about you. Once again, I'm not a woodworker, so I'm just kind of, you know, saying trees. I am a biologist though, so I do know trees. So at least I'm not bullshitting you in that department. Alright, so Dad's been doing a lot of furniture repair recently. He's not a woodworker either, so just, you know, look, it's about the same caliber of stuff that I do. But he's been, you know, staining nicked furniture and all that stuff. So I got him out here to show me what we got in the garage, and we got two options. We got special walnut and early American. So pretty much everything in our house is early American, and it turns out that this is, you know, two back-to-back coats, you know, didn't let them set. And that's close enough to pass the squint test. I mean, I've already hack jobbed this whole thing, so it's never going to pass the sniff test. So I just need it to pass, you know, the squint test. So we're going to put, you know, 2 or 3 coats of this stuff on it. And, you know, then go get my hand all greasy. You know, like coat my hand and go out, work on the car, go dig in the garden, then coat my hand in gun oil and just, you know, mangle this thing just to get some of that grease in there. Because we're never going to replicate this Arushi. And, you know, I did say I was going to try and do that, but I've already fucked it up, so... Well, I'm not fucked it up, but, you know, it's at the point where I'm not going to make it look like the original. I'm not going back from this. It's just beyond my capabilities. So we're just going to go for the squint test, like I said. So we're going to put 2 or 3 coats of early American on there. I'm going to put some on here, give it about 10 minutes, wipe it off. You know, maybe let it sit, and then maybe put one more before I leave for work. And then wipe that back off. It says you're supposed to let it sit for like 4 to 6 hours. I may just do one coat and then come back and do another one when I get home from work, and then do another one when I go to bed, and you know, stop whenever it looks like we're in the right place. So I may grab a little bit of isopropyl alcohol or something just to wipe it on there, trying and get the stain to take. But I think I'm just going to raw dog it and see how well it does, and we'll come back and clean it up if we have to. Alright, I got that on there good and thick. I mean, if it just stays like that, it's going to lighten up 4 shades when I wipe it off. But if it just stayed like that I would be okay with that. That's close enough. I mean, that's way closer than I thought it was going to look once I put it on there. I also came down here and I touched up my little impact boo-boo when I was taking out that tang screw. And yeah, I think that's all the other nicks I have on the gun that aren't organic. Yeah. So, probably going to be 2 coats, maybe 3. I don't know. We're just going to keep going. I'm going to try not to I need to wipe some of this off over here, actually. I'm going to try not to get any more on the original finish as possible. This has like a shellac coating, so it's not going to take, I don't think. But I just don't want to risk, having a sudden dark horseshoe around the repair job, because that would make it stand out like a sore thumb. I mean, it's going to do it anyway. It's already going to stand out like a sore thumb, but not any sorer than it needs to be. Alright, I wiped her off, and we're getting pretty close, I think. Definitely going to be 1 more coat, maybe 2, maybe even 3, but, it took some stain, and it looks a lot closer now. That's doesn't quite pass the squint test yet, the 5-foot squint test. So back up this far, and squint at it. Could still make it out, so we got to stain this a little bit more. That gray epoxy stands out. I thought that JB Weld was a little bit darker, but once I chiseled off the excess, it dropped about 2 shades, so now it stands out quite a bit. If it was black, it would just blend in perfectly with all this other, black in here. Also, by the way, this is all preservative wax in here, not like, I don't know, like old French fries or something, so don't judge me there. That's wax. But anyway, I digress. Another couple coats of stain, and I think we'll be there. So catch you when I got all that done, or when I dump the stain all over it and ruin it. Alright, that's coat 2 on there. Let's give it 10-15 minutes, wipe it off, and see how it looks. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I think we're getting pretty fucking close. I think 1 more coat tonight, right before I go to bed, and maybe 1 more in the morning. I think we might be done. This side is the worst, but that side doesn't matter because there's going to be a fucking gun right here. So it's really just this top and right here. In the back, I burnt the hell out of it on the sander, so it's actually the correct color already. But I think 1, maybe 2 more coats right here, and we'll be golden. Alright, 3rd coat is on, and we're going to let this marinate for like a half hour or hour overnight, or whenever I decide not to forget. Also, I've been reading this wrong. It says wait 4 hours before applying a top coat. It says only wait 2 hours in between applications. So I could have been fucking done right now, but I'm stupid. So anyway, I'm just going to let this sit for a bit, come back at about 11 and see what it does. And if not, we'll do it again in the morning. Okay, there's the 3rd coat. I think 1 more tomorrow, and I don't think it's going to get any darker than that. So we got pretty close. That definitely passes the squint test, I'll tell you that. So 1 more coat tomorrow morning, and hopefully we can throw this bad boy back together and work on a couple more things to get this son of a bitch running. Alright, there's the 4th coat on there. Alright, 4th coat is on. And yeah, I don't think we're going to get any better than that. It's not close. Well, it's close, but it's not that close. Passes the squint test. That's all I'm trying to do at this point. I might be able to get like some kind of top coat or lacquer or something I can apply to just darken it up just a little bit more. I'm going to let this sit while I'm at work today, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put some of this preservative wax on it, which is what the entire stock is coated in. And, just put that back over this over here. It might add a little bit of luster or something. It might darken it up just a imperceptible microscopic amount. I don't know. Might go look at all the other various fluids we have lying around and see if I got something that might get a little bit more darkness into this, add a little bit more of this, something to slightly emulate the Urushi sheen because this is just straight stained wood here. I don't know. I didn't neglect this. I was hitting this pretty much every time as well, so that's mostly covered up. And yeah, that's the way she is. Well, I put some 30-year-old tongue oil on it, which is now gel. And I think that might have been a fuck up. I think I pulled my last 2 layers of stain out, because it looks lighter to me now. So that's annoying, so we may have to come back, wipe this down pretty thoroughly, or wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol and then reapply stain again. So we'll see how it looks at the end of the day, but that looks lighter to me. Alright, 5th coat is on. Let's get back to it. Alright, it's the end of the day now. I'm just going to call it here, and we're just going to take a little bit of this microcrystalline gun preservative wax and just wipe it on there. Just nice and thick and goopy. Maybe hit it with the heat gun just a skosh, and call it a day. Then throw all the metal back into this sucker. Alright, wax is on, and if I can let go of this sucker without dropping the vise. Got her. That could have been bad. But yeah, I think the wax gave it just a little bit more darkness to it. Just a tiny amount. But that's actually looking, pretty good. If you look at it from, the right angle like there, doesn't really stand out that bad. So I'm going to go put all the meat back in this thing. And we'll bring her back out here and talk about a couple other things I want to get done to this sucker before we put any more rounds through it. There she is, all back together. And I do have the red dot on here still, but once again, it's just take the red dot off, take the mount out, and we're good to go. So, not worrying about that. Is this thing sliding forward? No, it's sliding backwards. Stay. But anyway, patch looks decent. It's definitely obvious, but, with everything else going on the gun, at a distance, you don't really notice it too much. You gotta squint. Pass the squint test. I keep saying that, but that's all I'm going for here. And I got a couple other things I want to do to this gun. One, I'm going to pull this red dot mount back off, and I'm going to sand on this Picatinny a little bit more. It's not quite perfect. When I was sanding this with my sanding stick over yonder, when you sand, you tend to sand on the outsides more than the insides. And so I've kind of flared it out. So instead of it being like a perfect channel like this, it flares out at the end. So it can rotate a bit. And I need to sand on a little bit more to get these front parts a little bit tighter to the receiver so that she'll really cinch up on there. But I don't think I'm going to be able to get it any tighter than I already have. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it off. And I'm going to grab a little bit of black gasket maker, which, is good up to whatever it says, 400 something degrees. So it should be fine on the back end of a receiver. It's not on the chamber, it's on the receiver part. So it shouldn't get that hot, especially with how expensive this ammo is and how little I'm going to be shooting it. And I'm just going to put that in there just sort of to fill up this void underneath here. And I'm not putting 70 pounds in here. I'm just putting 2 dollops. Just little tiny, half pea size drops, just to fill up all the voids in there and just kind of better lock this in place, because it has just enough play in it that if you just grab it and go it moves you 1 or 2 MOA in one direction. Then you grab it and you twist it in the other direction and it's back. And there's no flex, no wobble. It doesn't move on its own. But, you bump the sight into something, you lay it on the ground wrong, or, you shoot it and the thing twists or turns or pops or bounces, and it's off. So I just want to lock that in, call it a day. So I'm just going to put a little bit of gasket maker on there. It'll come right up if I ever have to take this off again. But that'll just fill up the void, unless when I pull it off of there, I suddenly have a brain blast and figure out a better way to sand on that thing, because I just don't have anything that's the right diameter. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get this safety to work, because once I lock this in the vise, I'll show you that the safety is just non-functional on this thing. And I think the bolt just has something fucky wrong with it. Let me show you. Alright, so here's the safety knob. What you're supposed to be able to do is push this in and then twist it to the right. But I can't. That's as far as it'll go. It's just something about the interface between the safety knob, the bolt, and the receiver down here just does not jazz. And maybe the firing pin on top of that, but I just cannot get the safety knob to safety. So, what I have done is I have bought an extra safety knob, and then I filed the fuck out of that to try and make it work, and that didn't do anything. So now what I've done is I've bought a reproduction firing pin, and I think a new old stock, a used bolt, because none of this is matching. And like, you know, serial number is whatever the hell that is. And the, come on now. And the bolt is 202. Well, the extractor and the bolt are 202. And I don't think the safety knob is matched to the bolt, and I don't think the firing pin is matched to the bolt, but at the very least, the extractor and the bolt is, but I think they gutted the things. So I don't think, so, you know, of course the bolt is not matched to the receiver, and I don't think the safety knob is matched to the bolt, and I don't think the firing pin is matched to the safety knob or the bolt. I don't think the safety knob, the firing pin, the bolt, or the bolt are matched to the receiver. So it's all just fucky. And so I just bought all new parts, and we're just going to keep, preferably what I would like to do is just change the firing pin and have it work magically. But we're just going to keep trying different combinations of things until I have a fucking functional safety, because I don't want to have to download this thing before and carry it without a round in the chamber. If I go deer hunting, I want to be able to keep a round in the chamber and just put the son of a bitch on safe. But anyway, I digress. We'll play with that when the parts come in. Got that from Numrich Gun Parts. They're all delayed at the moment, so I don't know when the hell those are come in. But tonight we're going to mess around with this guy. And I'm going to just try and see if I can get this to do what I was saying. Because you line it up, and everything looks Gucci. And then you twist on it, and then everything is not Gucci. I don't know how well that shows up. There we are. Let's center that. There we are. That looks centered more or less. Where we are. There we are. You see we're just to the left of the back of the shop vac. And if I get up on this son of a bitch and I go, like that. No change. Let me try the other way. I might have had it twisted the wrong way. It's very slight, but it did, I don't know if that's coming up, but I think it moved just maybe like half an inch. Something. I don't know. But whenever I was trying to bore sight the thing, it was very obvious. Like, it wasn't moving like a lot. It was moving like 1 MOA or so. But it was enough to you know, totally fuck up your zero when you need it. You know, it's probably not enough to fuck up, you know, the accuracy of this, you know, 70-something, what is it, 80-year-old gun. But I don't want to, I'm already a shitty enough shot as it is, and I have so little ammo to practice with, and I'm not going to be shooting, you know, multiple times at a target, so I just need the first shot to hit where the fuck I have the thing zeroed. So we're just gonna work on this a little bit more and get the zero right. Well, I didn't actually end up using the gasket maker, because when I pulled the sight off, and then I pulled the T27 torque out of the center that was holding down the Picatinny, and then grabbed the Picatinny and went like this, it didn't move, with nothing holding it in place except for the little bit of red Loctite I put underneath it when I installed it. So the Loctite was doing everything I wanted it to. It was doing what the gasket maker was going to do, except better. And so even without the bolt in there, I couldn't break the thing. It's a good thing I didn't, because I was like, oh shit, that wasn't the problem. So what turns out is just the sight mount on that cheapo Primary Arms red dot is just fucking garbage. And so what I'm actually doing is flexing the entire sight on the Picatinny So it's not actually the Picatinny moving on top of the gun, it's the sight moving on the Picatinny. So that's good. That means I can't do anything about it, so we're just going to ignore it. Alright, so we're at the other house, so I don't have the garage, so you're just going to have to deal with my dirty-ass dog hair covered bed. But finally got my parts in, and we're shit out of luck. Putting in a new firing pin, wherever it is, in here, and even using the new safety knob that I got, and I already modified by taking, like, half of this locking nub off. It's actually worse, and it actually makes the bolt sticky. So we're gonna have to go back to the old parts, and I also bought an extra bolt with the nice round, not last ditch bolt handle knob on it. And the bolt that Numrich sent me is just absolutely fucking slagged. Like, there's no way I'm going to trust that to contain a live round. That's garbage. I was wondering why it was like $30 and the remanufactured firing pin was like $50. Because it's not, suitable for being fired in the gun, just to make it look complete. So that's great. That was a waste of money. Whatever. It saved me on shipping, so I only really lost like $20. But whatever. I digress. We may try and blue that, but definitely that is never going in my gun. Yeah. So we're just going to have to go back to the old hardware, and we'll just ignore the fact that I've spent like probably $150 in parts for this, and the only one I actually needed was the rear bolt pin that I munged up, and whatever this guy is. Oh, the front sight. I didn't realize I bought a new front sight. But anyway, good thing I didn't buy another one. Alright, so I have decided that I'm going to conserve this here bolt. It's never going to be fired in my gun, but I at least want to get to the point that I can put it in the gun and see if the issue is my bolt or my receiver that's causing the safety not to work. So I've eliminated everything else. So we're going to go through this here rust bluing procedure, which is very long, multi-step, takes a long time, but it'll come out looking real nice. It'll get it looking as good as it's going to get. So first step on this list is brushing off all the chunks. Then we're going to degrease it, and then I'm going to boil it for 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll go down step by step through all of this. Carding, degreasing, adding bluing compound, dry heating, lightly steaming, super steaming, carding again, soaking in kerosene for a week, degreasing again, oiling, and then waxing. And so this is going to take at least a week to get all this done, several hours at a time. And it's a very involved process, but it's fairly simple and straightforward. Just takes a lot of time and a lot of, prior thought. But we should hopefully be able to get this thing to at least a point where we can look at it and say, maybe it's not fucked, but it is fucked. We know that's our little secret, but don't tell anyone. Well, I've de-chunked it, and here's a sample of the rust that came out, and it's even worse looking than I thought it was. Interestingly, we still have bluing, but if we didn't have bluing on it, I'd have swore this thing was in the damn bilge pump of a submarine. It's just fucked. It's just slag. There's no other word for it. I'm glad I wasn't a total idiot, because if I'd have put this in my gun, it'd exploded and killed me. But anywho, guess let's give it a bit of degreasing. Actually, I can skip this first degreasing, and then we'll just boil it for 15 minutes. And then we'll degrease it, then we'll just card it, then we'll degrease it. But, yeah, small enough. I can probably just hit it with the degreaser. It'll help it steam anyway, so we'll do that. Brake cleaner's cheap. Okay. Degreased. Into the steam. Waiting start. Waiting done. Boiling complete. Carding in progress. Alright. Carded. Degreased again. Now we're ready to add the bluing compound. Alright, bluing compound has been applied, so now we're going to put her on dry heat for 10 to 15 minutes. Alright, we'll let that cook, and then we have to lightly steam it for about 45 minutes to an hour. And that's just outside. It's just lightly steamy out, so I don't even think we need to put it back over the boiler, but we'll put it like right over the top of it on a screen or something, just so that we make sure it's got maximum humidity. Alright, now let's go humidify this. Not that we even have to try. Rusty. We'll let that marinate for an hour or so. Now we got her in there boiling again. And we're gonna let that go for another 15 minutes because I don't have enough light to go any longer. And then we're gonna card it again by flashlight. And then huck her in a bag of mineral oil. It'd be better to throw her in a vat of kerosene or diesel, but I only got a little bit of diesel and I don't want to waste it, and I don't have any kerosene here. So we're just going to stick it in a Ziploc bag full of mineral oil and drive as much air out of the bag as I can and hope for the best. Alright, so we're out of light, but she's probably good and boiled now, I hope at least. I don't want to have to do this again, and I'm not going to do this again. So pull her on out the steam bath, and she's looking good and blue now. We're gonna carry her on over to the porch because we don't have electrical in the garage yet, and we'll card that up and we'll see if it needs another boiling or not. And if it doesn't, then we'll soak it in mineral oil. Look at the size of this lad who just landed on my shoulder. That's an ox beetle right there. But anywho, bolt is now carded. As you can see, it is blue now. But once you get up on there, you can see all that horrid rust pitting all up in there. I mean, it's probably still strong enough to, hold up, pressures in the bore and whatnot. But I'm not going to trust it. I'm not going to fire that in my gun. But I will use it to diagnose whether or not the issue is with my receiver, or whether it is with my bolt. And if it's with my bolt, we'll know from this. So can you go somewhere else for a moment? Come here. Come over here. Get up on. Just there. Okay, whatever. Have fun down there. So, yeah, she's rough. The blue wasn't really as heavy as I wanted it to be. I ran out of water there partway through, and then also out of gas at the same time. So I didn't have enough time to boil her as long as I wanted to. I probably should have been a little bit more meticulous with the, wire wheeling at the beginning, but I didn't have a wire wheel. And I was not able to really card as well as I wanted to either. But for a part that I'm never going to actually use, it is a million times better than it was. So we're going to stick this in a bag of mineral oil and let that sit for a week. That'll drive out all the moisture and allow the blue to set a lot better. And then we can go back over this again. We'll degrease it again. We'll oil it up. Probably gun oil at that point. Actually, no. We're going to use a light oil. And then we're going to wax it as best as we can. And then we're also going to oil it on top of that. And, yeah. Then we'll test fit it in the gun. And see if this fixes any problems or not. There you are again. You are just a chunky bug. Alright. You just hang out there. So, yeah. So, we're just going to leave this mysterious-looking sack of goo sitting on the shelf somewhere for a week and come back. And hopefully the blue should have set up a little bit more and we'll be able to clean off any other remaining rust chunks by hand. And, yeah, she'll be nice and deep blue and we can test her then. Now we got a grapevine beetle, too. I add you to the collection. Go, get over there. You go. Not quite as large of a lad, but still a sizable lad. Alright, it's been exactly a week, and as you can see, the blue one is nice and deep, nice and hard, but it is not thorough. There's still some red rust poking through down there in this, what do we call it, the guide for the bolt retainer doohickey. There's also a little bit of red coming through inside of this. It's at the firing pin channel, but I don't really care because it's not going in the gun. I just wanted it to, not be red and chunky. So what I'm gonna do is take these spare parts that I have and disassemble my current bolt, pull the firing pin spring out of that, and then put everything and every combination of stuff inside of that bolt, and then see if I can get the safety to work in this gun. And that way I can determine whether or not something's fucked with my receiver or something's fucked with my bolt. So let's give it a shot. Okay, so with the new old piece of shit slagged bolt and the old firing pin and the new filed on repro safety knob, we can get it that far. So yeah, the issue is definitely with the receiver. Nothing I'm probably ever going to be able to do about that. I'm still not even certain how it, interfaces with the receiver. From everything I could tell, it should work, but it doesn't. So I think this receiver is just a lemon, and we'll just have to deal without having safety. Also, let me show you this bolt real quick. All right, so like I was saying, I did not do a thorough, deep bluing job on this. It was not my intent. My intent was to just get rid of the surface rust, so that I could actually lubricate it and, confirm that it clearances. And this just illustrates how deep and nasty this rust is here on the locking surfaces. So yeah, anywhere where you see orange is where it was, where one, there was still rust underneath the surface of this, deep dark bluing I have, and two, where it was scraping against the receiver when it was, trying to go into battery. So yeah, totally fucked bolt, and well, at least it was a cheap way to figure out. Well, not quite cheap, but cheap enough way to figure out that the issue is unsolvable, and somewhere in here with my receiver, with these surfaces down in here. I'm thinking it's this here, because from what I can see, nothing is actually hitting this. So I think potentially my receiver is just too long back here or something, and the bottom lip of the knob is actually, that probably is what it is hitting this right here, and it can't go deep enough when it's supposed to be doing that. You see, it turns in there. That's as far as it needs to go, is right about there, but I can only get it to go that far. So I'm thinking it's hitting this lip down here or something. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is something is fucky with the receiver, because nothing else, every other thing has been eliminated except for the firing pin spring, and I can't imagine that would be the problem at all. Alright, we got the Arisaka and my new deer rifle, and I've got my new chronograph set up, and we're going to shoot down yonder at that target. See what kind of group we can get with this red dot, and also zero my deer rifle. I'm going to do that first so I can work out the kinks with this chronograph. The only reason I'm chronographing this stuff is because I'm absolutely sick and tired of dealing with the false advertising from ammo companies, where they say, 2500 FPS, and they mean out of like a 75-inch barrel at like -5 degrees Fahrenheit in a vacuum or some shit like that. So because I'm in the fucking armpit of the South here, and it's like 95 degrees out and 106% humidity, and I'm shooting out of like a 22-inch deer rifle barrel, and I'm not certain that these companies aren't downloading the stuff for the Arisaka because they're such old guns. I just need to know velocity, like true velocity, to accurately be able to like zero these things at distance. So anyway, I'm gonna get to that, and we'll come back and I'll show you what kind of group I can get, because I've got to record all this data with yonder aux cable on my phone, so I can't film while I'm doing that. Plus the phone will overheat. So yeah, stay tuned. Well, here are the first 4 shots out of my Ruger American 6.5 Creedmoor. You see the 3 holes there? That's 4. This is actually a double right here. So these are my first 4 shots out of the gun. That was the first one out. That was bore-sighted at about 45 feet. And as you can see, it was about 4 inches up and 1.5 inches to the right. So measured all that in, ran her home, and that was my first shot. No, that was my first shot, second shot, third shot. So yeah, I'm real pleased with that. Yeah, can't ask for any better. So I guess got the chronograph working. It was totally painless. So time to move on to that, and hopefully that red dot should hold a 0. All right, so we got the Arisaka out. We're back to 25 yards now. We were at 33 before. That's just 6.5 Creedmoor is a lot flatter than 7.7 Japanese. So both of these I'm putting to a 200-yard 0. That's feasibly what I can do for deer hunting. That's the only use I have for this thing other than plinking. So she's getting zeroed at 25, which will be the same roughly at 200. I'll reconfirm at 200 another day. Same with the 6.5. So 6.5 just happens to go like 50% farther. That's how much flatter it is. And what I am shooting is this 174 grain Norma, which is not even a Spitzer really. And yeah, is big. It's a soft point, and it'll kill a deer, but it BC is like .262, whereas the 6.5 I was shooting was like 4.6. But anyway, I digress. I'm just going to try my best to get this zeroed, and if it'll hold a zero, like if it'll hold like a 2-inch group through like 5, 8 rounds, I'll be happy. That's all I really want. That's all I'm shooting for, literally. All right, done shooting. Shot 8 rounds. First 3 shots out of it, we're all 25-50. The next 5 are all 23-50. So don't know if that's a different lot for the box of ammo or what, but that's kind of worrying. Look at that. It actually was an issue with an ammo lot. So the first 3 that I shot are right there. Those were left from the first box that I had. You see they have, you know, like in aluminum silver colored primer. And the other 5 were from the next box, which has a brass colored primer. And one was 200 feet per second faster than the other. So I'm glad that all I have left is the shitty weak ass ammo. Great. First shot was a little low left, tweaked it, and the next one was high center. And well, I think I might have got the zero right. I think I actually had my bore sight perfect. Yep, I did. So I had my bore sight perfect to start out with, and then I had this was the first shot out of the gun. So I went, oh, okay, so I tweaked it, and then I was here because I was actually just whiffed that shot and went low left, and then torqued it, and then threw 2 shots because I was flinching like a motherfucker because I am wearing a tank top right now, and I'm sweating like a pig, and that wooden, that not varnished, shellacked wooden butt plate did me no favors, and it beat the hell out of me. But anywho, yeah, so I was flinching like a motherfucker, and I finally got the last 2 rounds. I said, all right, whatever, quit being a bitch, and I didn't flinch, and I also tweaked my zero back to where it originally was, and these are my last 2 shots. Those are the last 2 out of the gun. That's where my zero is. That's not bad, but this was the 0 shot, and then everything except for these 2 were the next 5. You see, through those 2, this group is about, at 25 yards, about an inch and a half. Not very good, but I am also using a red dot, so yeah, I ain't shooting any deer at 200 yards, I'll tell you that. Maybe at 100, maybe at 50. Don't think she's as accurate as I think she is, but anywho, at least my Ruger American works, because I pretty much gave up on this Arisaka as a deer rifle. So we're just going to be using that Ruger American. Much more accurate. Ammo is actually the same price or cheaper, and I can get a lot better ammo, way more accurate. Yeah, way more accurate. That's really all I care about. All right, well, there she is. She ain't too accurate, and she ain't too pretty, but she's slightly more pretty than she was before. And yeah, I think that's going to be the end of it. I think she's just going to be a wall hanger. I don't think she's accurate enough, and this red dot certainly ain't accurate enough for me to make this a deer rifle, at least not an ethical one. You know, with this kind of accuracy, I might as well just use an iron-sighted, you know, shotgun with buckshot, just some Federal Flight Control. That's probably a lot more effective thing to use. Plus the, you know, deer rifle I bought because I already gave up on this, if you hadn't noticed. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this. You probably didn't. Yeah, I really regret fucking this thing up, and I'm gonna pull this red dot off after this because not worth it. She's probably just as accurate with this really terrible aperture sight. Anyway, yeah, so that's the end of the video. If you like it, don't know why you did, but you know, if you for some reason do, you're probably more likely to dislike it. So just go down there, leave a like, leave a dislike, whatever you feel like. Don't bother leaving a comment. I already know you're gonna insult me. I'm not gonna read them. I deserve it. And yeah, if you want to see more of this garbage, you gotta subscribe. So go down there, smash that subscribe button. Until next time, Tom out. Oh man, I really fucked up that tree. Sorry, tree. You'll get over it.